Hey, good evening, everyone. This is State Representative Brad Halbrook with our Tuesday evening edition of our roundtable and live stream. And guys, we've got a special evening planned for you with a great gentleman from Texas, and we'll get to his introduction here right away. But at that, I want to start off. We'll go round robin with a quick welcome. Dan Calkins.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, Dan Calkins, new 88th House District as of tomorrow. Listen, this is a great time. Really welcome you, Rick. It's good to have you here in Illinois. Hopefully we can get you up here in person sometime soon.
Adam Nieberg.
Good evening, folks. Thanks for tuning in for our weekly town hall meetings. Thank you, Rick, for being with us here tonight. Folks, we've got an action-packed evening for you, so let's just get right to it. So thanks for being here.
All right. Thank you, Adam. And Blaine Wilhauer, Vice Chairman of the Illinois Freedom Caucus.
Hey, great to be here this evening. Thank all of you for being engaged and in tune to what's going on here. We got a great show for you this evening. Glad to have Rick Green here for us to give us a little Longhorn common sense here. And I got the Longhorns in the background just for this.
Excellent. Nothing like a shameless self-promotion there, Blaine, but that's okay. And the next person up is well, he's just, everybody knows him. He is not afraid to speak the truth, logic, and common sense in a world and an area that is void of truth, logic, and common sense. The chairman of the Illinois Freedom Caucus and State Representative Chris Miller. Chris, the floor is yours for a quick welcome and to introduce our special guest, Rick Green.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here, and I don't want to disappoint anybody because what we witnessed here in the lame duck session is we understand the gun grabbers, the tax hikers, and the freedom haters are at it once again in the state capitol here in Springfield. But before I introduce Rick, I want to give a shout out to the Patriots and the Freedom Caucus and our colleagues in Washington, D.C. that are actually holding government's feet to the fire and actually forcing Republicans to act like Republicans. Now, isn't that a novel idea? But it's great to have Rick Green here with us this evening. He's a true American patriot. You know, he's a great orator of the Word of God as well as the Constitution, and it's such a privilege to have him. I know that, he has a wonderful organization called Patriot Academy, and I know my youngest daughter and I just got done going through the constitutional defense class down in Texas, and what a blessing it was for everybody. But without further ado, I introduce you to Rick Green.
Hey, man. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. And listen, thank you to each of you guys. Y'all are on the front lines in the battle without a doubt. And almost in some ways, I imagine you feel like you're behind enemy lines a lot with the things you guys have to put up with and deal with. And I want to echo, Chris, what you just said about our DC colleagues that stood in the gap under tremendous pressure. As Chris, you obviously know better than most, and thank God for your wife and the other 19 that listen. I was so disappointed in so many of our supposed champions, conservative champions, especially in the media, that rained down on those 20 for standing firm. And those 20 were proven right, and the concessions that they got and the stage that they set. I mean, that's what a lot of people aren't talking about. This is very similar to when Ronald Reagan took on the air traffic controllers, and when he showed that he would not cave to them and that he would stand firm. It set the stage for the whole world. It set up what he was able to do with the Soviets. And I think in many ways that's what these 20 did. They have not only gotten these incredible concessions for how the House is going to operate over the next 2 years. They have let everybody know. They've put them on notice. We will fight. We will stand firm. And so McCarthy and the rest have to do business with them, not just for this opening and in these initial rules, but from now on, they know if those Patriots stand up and say, "Hey, we're holding out. You're gonna have to do this right." Everybody knows they mean it and that they will stand true to their word. So anyway, that's an opening salvo for our time together. Quick background on me. I was a legislator a long time ago here in Texas, as a very young legislator. I was in my late 20s when I went into the House and started working with David Barton back then. I've been hosting his radio program for about 22, well, hosting the program for about 16 years, been with him for about 22 years. My specialty is essentially a common sense, if you will, country boy version of teaching history and the Constitution and making it interesting and fun for folks, reviving a love of patriotism and a love of our founding documents and our founding principles. I'm a very simple guy: garbage in, garbage out, good stuff in, good stuff out. And we've been putting garbage in for a very long time. The poison of cultural Marxism has been going into our culture for many, many, many decades. I was fighting those kind of textbooks 20 years ago when I was in the ledge. And the result speaks for itself. You can tell that they have dominated every major cultural institution in America. They own it right now: education, the media, journalism, all of it. And it's having its impact. These kids that marched in the streets for the last couple of years, they believe they're part of a righteous cause, and it's because of what they've been taught. And so our view at Patriot Academy is that you have to change the inputs. You have to intercept the supply lines of the left, and get back to putting the good stuff in instead of the garbage in. And that's what we do. We've been doing it we started Patriot Academy in 2000. We had our first leadership Congress in 2023. And what a leadership Congress is basically a youth version of what you guys do, where we bring in young people 16 to 25 to state capitals around the country. We give them a chance to serve as a legislator. And at the same time, we're pouring in the good stuff. We're teaching them founding fathers philosophy, proper role of government, jurisdictions of government, that sort of thing. And then teaching them leadership skills, public speaking, how do you work a room? How do you build a network? All those things that they're going to need to know, whether they're going to go into politics or business or the pulpit or whatever area of the culture they're going into. And it's been pretty phenomenal, guys. We have graduates of Patriot Academy serving in state legislatures across the country and Congress. Our Constitution classes that we teach, we now have almost 23,000 Constitution coaches across America. They're hosting classes in their living rooms, their churches, and libraries all over the place. Graduates of that program now also serving in Congress. In fact, Lauren Boebert, who stood with Congresswoman Miller and others, part of the 20, is one of our graduates. Burgess Owens, one of our graduates. Juan Ciscomani. So we got several members of Congress now. But more importantly, we have Patriot leaders in almost every community across America now. And that's our goal, is to create a firestorm, create a prairie fire all across America, as Ronald Reagan said. And it's happening. There's a resurgence. There's an interest like never before. All of the bad that's happening in America right now, has a counterbalance. And the counterbalance is that it awakened people that have never been involved before. They've never paid attention to politics. They've never taken a Constitution class. They weren't taught this stuff in school. And all of a sudden they're calling us and they're signing up for classes and they're saying, what can I do? I realize what's going on is wrong, but I don't know what to do. Well, we know what to do, and we're engaging them and equipping them. I've lost count at the number of school board elections we've won, and county commissioner and city council, and right up and down the line. But most importantly, again, those local leaders that are just now, they're voting for the first time, or they're going and knocking on their neighbor's door and asking them to vote and educating them. That's the hard work it's going to take to win the culture back and win liberty back. I'm a Reagan guy. I got a kid named after Reagan. I got another kid born on Ronald Reagan's birthday, and I used to have a dog named Dutch. So talking to the Illinois Freedom Caucus, I think the last time, no, I know I've spoken in Illinois since then, but years ago I spoke in Dixon, Illinois at the little movie theater there, and on Ronald Reagan's birthday, and just talked about the impact that Illinois had on the world as a result of raising up that kid that would become such a champion. I know California claims him, but you guys are really the ones that produced him, and we need more like that. And I think that's the secret: is you have to go back to what happened in Dixon and Tampico, what happened there to raise up this young man that would be such a champion of liberty that when he became president and he passed his tax cuts, and everybody else in the administration was saying it's not working, we've got to reverse all of this, and everybody else was pro-abortion. I mean, from Nancy to the rest of the administration. And yet this man had the backbone, enough backbone to make a freight train take a dirt road, that he would stand firm on those two issues throughout his presidency. And as a result, with the tax cuts producing the greatest peacetime economic expansion in the history of the world, and then, of course, laying the groundwork for the life movement that we now got to see great results from this summer. So I think it's that simple. It really is. You got to go back to having communities that produce those kind of citizens that then 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, we reap the benefit of it. This is going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to get more ugly before it gets better. I'm an optimist, but I'm also a realist and a student of history. And you cannot pour that cultural Marxism in for that many years and not have a really, really negative result. But as I said, the good news is we can shift that, we can turn that, but that's going to take a long time. And so for guys like you that are in the legislature fighting this battle on a daily basis, and most of the time outnumbered in your particular legislature, I just say thank you. That is a tough fight. And that is it takes, man, I know there's days you guys go home and go, why am I doing this? What a waste of my time. I'm not getting anywhere. Stay in the fight, stay the course. Honestly, that was exactly how I felt in Texas 20 years ago. In fact, Patriot Academy started because I'm sitting on the House floor in Texas, and we had just finished. I fought it and tried to stop it, but we just finished passing price fixing on milk, and I'm thinking, I'm telling my colleagues, I'm like, guys, Nixon and Ford and Carter, they did price fixing in the 70s. It didn't work. It failed miserably. It made things worse. Why in the world are you doing this? Anyway, so I was frustrated. And so I don't know if you guys have this on your desk, on the House floor or not, but we have a phone under, we can call our office and talk to our office and whatnot, or call out. And so I called my dad. I picked up the phone. I'm 27, 28 years old. I pick up the phone, call my dad, say, man, I'm wasting my time, Dad. I just don't think being in the legislature is not making a difference. These people don't understand conservative policies. They say I'm a conservative when they run for office, and they get in office and they're voting for this kind of stuff. Anyway, I was just really frustrated. And my dad said to me, this was 1999, guys. So this was really weird for him to say this, but my dad says to me, well, you need to do what Bill Clinton did. I said, Dad, you're going to have to clarify what you mean by that. And he says, well, Bill Clinton, when he was governor of Arkansas, he had this thing called the Governor's School, and he would bring in the best and brightest kids from across the state, indoctrinate them with left-wing philosophy, and then they would go out and, eventually become the leader. So he was perpetuating his worldview, really Hillary's worldview. Bill Clinton never believed in anything. He just was happy to, be at the center of attention. But it was Hillary's philosophy that he was indoctrinating those kids with. Anyway, so he says, why can't you do that the right way and teach truth? And so that was the birth of Patriot Academy. And as a result, 22 years later, we're seeing incredible results from that fruit. And now it's exploding, and we're building a campus in Texas. We're going to invite people to come do what Chris just did with our constitutional defense course, but basically have the Patriot experience. We're on our campus. We'll have a mock-up of Independence Hall, and you'll do your Constitution training right there, so you don't have to go to Philadelphia and get shot. We'll have a complete mock-up of the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol in our Welcome Center, where you can experience the history of America through those paintings and statues, and not go to D.C. and have to get arrested and spend 2 years in the gulag. We'll have a complete legislative chamber where families can come in and be a legislator for the day and know what it's like, see inside the belly of the beast. How does a constitutional republic work? Bottom line, by the end of that week, with their handgun defense, be able to defend their family wherever they live. I mean, that's, today needed more than ever, but that's always been needed. So that Patriot experience is going to be pretty phenomenal. We've already started moving dirt, and we're going to have our big official groundbreaking on April 19th. That's the morning of the shot heard round the world in 1775, but we're going to do it in Fredericksburg, Texas. So we invite all of you guys as members of the Freedom Caucus and the folks that are watching, if you want to come down and be a part of that. It's going to be pretty, I believe it's a game changer for liberty throughout this country, because people will come have that experience on our campus for a week, and then they'll go back to their communities, and they will be champions for liberty, and they'll be the catalyst. And I think y'all know this. I know a couple of you well enough to know that, we all are firm believers in these principles, but we're also just normal people. We're not, none of us are rocket scientists. We're not, I'm not anywhere near as smart as Mark Levin or a bunch of these other folks out there. We're just average citizens that got fed up and said, I want to make a difference. Here am I, Lord, send me. I'm willing to get in the fight. And that's what we're asking others to do. You don't have to be an expert in the law or the Constitution or anything else. You have to say, I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to step up. And that's what people that are becoming Constitution coaches for us, and that will come to this campus and then go back home. You don't have to have a background in this stuff. You just have to say, I love freedom, and I want my kids to live in liberty, and I want to have a place that reflects my values, and I'm willing to sacrifice. I'm willing to spend my time, my money, my reputation to do that. That's lives, fortune, sacred honor. And it's time for our generation to do that and to step up. And so anyway, all of that to say, while there's a lot of bad happening, there's also a lot of good happening. So I always talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think you got to go in eyes wide open. But no matter what happens, no matter which battles we win today or lose tomorrow or whatever it might be, duty is ours, results are God's. We just stay in the fight. And as long as I'm above ground and not 6 feet under, I'm going to fight for this stuff. And I don't know what the outcome's going to be. I don't know if we're going to save the whole country. We may only save parts of the country. Lord willing, we have a revival and we save the whole nation. But, regardless of those outcomes, we know what our duty is. And you guys are all champions. And the fact that you're willing to stand in the gap, God bless you. Thank you for doing that. Everybody that's watching, you need to help them. Don't just get on these, streams and say amen. Get out there and do some work. Right now during the legislative session, let these folks know, let your voice be heard and show up at the hearings, take action and then be kind of, we would love to talk about the First Amendment and all the things we love about the First and Second Amendments. But, you got to be the First and Second Amendment. And so if you're watching this tonight, you've got to be the press. You don't just argue for freedom of the press. You don't just complain about the fact that the left owns the media. You become the press by actually starting to share what's happening in the legislative session, post on social media, get a circle of people together. And, one of the reasons having a biblical citizenship class or a constitutional life class is so powerful is because once a week, everybody's coming together in your neighborhood or at your home or wherever, and you're able to be the press. You're able to tell them, hey, had a hearing last week at, in whatever committee and Representative Miller was, laying out a bill to do this or whatever. Or next week, we're going to have this bill and we need to all, as many of us can travel to the Capitol and be engaged in that. So anyway, there's so much you can do. I know they're letting you know through the Freedom Caucus, but I just want to encourage you, don't give up, stay in the fight. And right now during the legislative session is the time to put the pressure on. Because while you have champions in the Freedom Caucus that are going to be just like those 20 that we just talked about from D.C., they're going to do the right thing regardless of whether they lose an election or win an election or they're popular or not. There's a whole lot of other legislators that are, they're just waiting to see where the wind's blowing. And so you got to blow. You got to be part of that wind that pushes them the right direction. Right now in these next few weeks and months is critical. So while these guys are actually, pushing with everything they can, we need the citizens to let their voice be heard as well and make sure that all of those folks at the Capitol, they can feel that pressure because, most people, you've got patriots here on this tonight, but most politicians, a patriot is thinking about the next generation. A politician's only thinking about the next election. So They don't see the light until they feel the heat. Well, it's our job to put the heat on and make them feel it. And then that helps the good guys win those battles. And that's essentially what happened in DC. Those 20 stood up. And when they stood up for the first time in my lifetime of watching, 1994 was different, but for the first time in the last, what is that? 30 years? Yeah. Wow, man, I'm getting old. For the first time in the last 30 years, the nation had to actually pay attention to what was happening on the House floor in Washington, D.C. And then people started calling and writing. And the pressure was on. And because they stood firm, the game has changed and the swamp is on notice that business as usual is over. So anyway, I've been rambling for, I don't know how long, 10 or 15 minutes. So let's open it up and have a discussion, whatever you guys want to talk about. But those were the things that were on my mind.
Rick, those are great opening comments, and I appreciate all that. So the headwinds blowing against us is dramatic here in this great state. Yeah. And I don't know who may have a kind of an opening question or response, but I appreciate you coming on with us. Who wants to start this off? Just have at it.
Well, hey, Rick, I think that's so important what you said about standing firm and being the wind of change. Oftentimes it can get frustrating in a state like Illinois, but it is important to note to people out there that political viability is something that comes and goes. The numbers may not be in our favor today in the state of Illinois, but we often say that the law and the truth and the facts are on our side. So it's just so important that we keep out there, keep pushing, keep advocating, because a day will come when these policies and this culture catches up with these folks, and we've got to be prepared for that day, and that's what we're all about here. So I just really appreciate that encouragement, and I think that's really important for our audience to hear, especially right now with what's going on in this state.
Yeah, Blaine, I think one thing that's to our advantage is that the left has no self-control, and so they end up pushing too far every time, and they've done it again. And now, when it comes to carving up kids and doing the nasty stuff that they're doing, parents have finally said enough is enough, and that's why a lot of people that were in the middle and not paying attention, all of a sudden they're going, "Wait a minute, you want to do what to my kid without my notice, without my knowledge, and you're championing this? You want men in my daughter's shower and locker room and bathroom at school, and if I'm not okay with that, you take away the lunch money at school." I mean, that's the stuff that they're pushing for, and that has awakened a lot of people. So I think you're right. The winds right now, it's a headwind against you, but they are doing so much that is so wrong and so evil, and it's coming on so fast that they don't even realize they've pushed too far. Now on the flip side of that, the rot is real, and I think we have to recognize that. The cultural rot is real. There's a large contingency out there that's actually for this stuff. They're okay with a lot of this stuff that we look at it and go, I cannot believe that's happening in America. And they're truly cultural Marxists. They have gone for this stuff and fallen for it. And so it's a real battle. I don't think it's 50%. I really don't. I don't think they have half the country. And I think even in Illinois, I don't think they have half of Illinois. It's just that they have the institutions. And so because they have all the institutions, it feels like they have half of Illinois, and they dominate on the political front and the media front. And that's why it feels so much like the headwinds are against you. But I think you said it right. Truth is on our side. The law is on our side. The results are on our side. And right now people are feeling the pain of the bad policies. And I love seeing these. I mean, it grieves me, but it's needed. I love seeing these people now, these adults that were transitioned that are saying, I can't believe you let that happen to me. And they're talking about the pain of what has been allowed to happen. The bad economic results, the bad results from the shutdowns and the lockdowns and all the things that went too far. While there are a lot of people that are still part of that, I mean, it's become a religion and a cult almost. There's an awful lot of people that have common sense saying, oh my gosh. I mean, even liberals that have said, this is crazy. We've got to get back to common sense. I saw Tim Robbins the other day came out and said, we turned into crazy people and treated other people horribly during all of this. And so more liberals like Tim Robbins, I welcome to come on. Welcome to the side of logic and reason. And that's going to help too. So anyway, yeah, man, I think those headwinds are hopefully going to change for you guys, but it may take a while.
Chris, do you have a thought?
Yeah, one of the things I'd like for you to maybe talk just a little bit about is that the left has moved us, what do I like to refer as the pretend culture, where we're pretending that a man can become a woman. We're pretending that if we take gun rights away from law-abiding citizens, that's going to fix anything. We pretend about raising taxes as a solution. If we pretend that we take freedoms away from people, that everything's going to be better. And I don't know, I thought that you might have a few comments about that.
Yeah, if I had known that that was the way to go, then I would have announced a long time ago that hey, I identify as a billionaire, and I identify that my mortgage is paid off and all my cars are paid. So all you people trying to collect from me, sorry, but I identify as being debt free. This fantasy land that these people live in. Brad Stein and I do this thing called Comedy and Constitution. It's a show that's kind of, it's funny, but we also bring in, the how to save the country kind of thing. And Brad always says, listen, you have a right to live in fantasy land. You just don't have a right to make me live in fantasy land with you. So, yeah. That's the point where they crossed the line, was where they we defended everybody's right to, you believe what you want to believe. We believe in the rights of conscience. But the point when you're acting on what you believe requires me to believe in this fantasy with you. That's a problem. And that's where they literally have crossed that line and are forcing that on people at this point. And it's all the things you mentioned. It's not, the transgender one's the easy one to show people this is silly. This is literally a mental illness that we're dealing with here. And you're wanting everybody to affirm it and actually now start doing that with children and start taking children to these shows. I mean, it's just gone bonkers. And everybody was afraid to stand up and say, this is insanity. This is absolute. What do you mean a man can have a menstrual cycle? Are you kidding me? These people have absolutely lost their mind. And it's the emperor has no clothes thing. Everybody's looking around going, is anybody going to stand up and say that the emperor has no clothes? Or everybody's just afraid to say it, right? And we've been in this, everybody's afraid to say it. And now all of a sudden the ones that are willing to say it, all those people that wanted somebody to say it are finally coming and saying, thank you. I'll vote for you, or I'll join your team, or whatever it might be. And so, yeah, I think the realists now are needed big time. And there are millions, tens of millions of Americans waiting for someone to stand up and say truth and speak truth. And they're flocking to it. But it's a real battle too. And it's amazing to me that they've dug in where they've dug in. I mean, used to that, you guys know, y'all been in these battles. They used to be much more cunning, right? Like they were so much smoother about just kind of slowly sliding this stuff in and making it sound, like they were championing freedom and that they were just allowing it. But now, man, they've just they've lost their, I think they've lost their edge. They've lost that and they're hoping that everybody's just bought into the philosophy. So it's our job, I think, at this point to point out the insanity. And I probably, maybe I shouldn't mock as much as I do or use sarcasm as much as I do, but I almost feel like you have to at this point. I mean, that's why I mock the masks and I mock the crazy things that people have done, because I'm trying to get people's attention to realize just how silly this stuff is. And one side note, by the way, this is unrelated to what we've been talking about, but also kind of in the realist thing. We have to be realist on our side as well. I think it's very important. And I'll just use this as an example. This whole Brunson v. Adams case that everybody's been talking about for the last, few weeks and months. When I say everybody, I mean everybody got excited about this. And from the beginning of this thing, when it was first got attention, I said I poured cold water on it, and I was the pessimist for, and everybody was like, "Wait, Rick, you're usually the optimist." I was like, "Wait a minute, okay, you're literally asking the judicial branch to fire 3/4 of the legislative branch and 100% of the executive branch. There's a separation of powers issue here, I think. There's no way the same Supreme Court that would not even take the Pennsylvania case that was a solid case on the 2020 election. I mean, the Pennsylvania Secretary of State and Governor and Pennsylvania Supreme Court absolutely violated the Constitution, changing election law at the last minute to favor one side over the other. Didn't involve the legislature. It was an obvious violation of the Constitution, which many other states did, including Texas, by the way. Abbott violated the Constitution on this as well. But in Pennsylvania, it was a solid case, and the Supreme Court wouldn't take it. And Alito and Thomas said, we're inviting more cheating if we don't take this case. Anyway, they wouldn't even take that case. The idea that they were going to actually have a hearing on this Brunson case and actually fire the Congress, and it was crazy. It was false hope. And so I was saying, to our side, I was saying, don't put false hope out there where our side is now going to be depressed or discouraged or disillusioned whenever the Supreme Court doesn't actually hear the case. Anyway, cert was denied Friday. I mean, they had it distributed for Congress, and everybody thought, oh, there's a hearing. Supreme Court's actually going to hear this case. Distributed for Congress means that some clerk emailed all 9 offices of the United States Supreme Court with the case, and it was listed along with 413 or 412 other cases on Friday. Anyway, so things like that. It was kind of like, you guys remember in January of 2021, it was like, I don't know, even as late as like the end of January 2021, people were calling me and saying, Donald Trump's still president. He's got an office in the basement of the Pentagon, and he's still calling all the shots. And I'm like, people, come on. We've got to be smarter about this. We've got to be, realistic about what's actually happening and what's actually reasonable. And we got to know our enemy, and we got to know what's possible. So I'm rambling again, but I say all that to just say let's be tactical and strategic in our fight and not give in to some of these red herrings that I think are distractions that the left puts out there in order to just kind of get us off track from the real fight. As everybody on screen here knows, the real fight is the blocking and tackling. It's the day-to-day battle. It's the knocking on the doors. It's the having the discussion with your kids and grandkids about this stuff. It's the little things. Oh, it's not the Hail Mary pass that is going to win the battle. It's standing firm, and literally just like what we watched in Washington. So it took a week to pick the speaker. So what? But that was a grind. Every day those members had to get up and still take the pressure and still fight. And it wasn't going to be this, Hail Mary pass. They've been working on this since the summer, trying to negotiate these things. So I just think I guess what I'm trying to say is, let's not be simple and childish and hope that something is going to, or some president's going to ride in and save the day. I don't care who you elect in 2024 in the White House. This is a 20-year battle, whether we like it or not. Now, we need that to be a good person. Whether it's Trump or DeSantis or whoever, we need a fighter. We need somebody that's going to stand up to the left on this stuff. But we just can't put our hope in these one-shot deals like this case at the Supreme Court or whatever. To get to the point we did this summer, to have the Bruin case and the and Dobbs and the Coach Kennedy case, these great victories we had at the U.S. Supreme Court, man, that was 50 years. That was 50 years of fighting to get to the point where in a matter of weeks, Sam Alito and Clarence Thomas ripped down the strongholds of the left that they had built up. But it took 50 years of fighting to give them the ability to do that. So anyway, just long-term strategies. That's what we've got to keep our eyes on. That's a really long response to Blaine's comment. I promise not to do that every time. Sorry.
It's all right. Dan, do you have a question?
Well, first of all, Rick, it looks like there's going to be some excused absences in April. April 19th, Fredericksburg, pecans and barbecue.
I love it.
I got great down there in the hill country. Great place to ride motorcycles too, by the way.
Oh yeah.
So I put that on my calendar first thing. We'll have to get the Freedom Caucus bus fired up and drive to Texas. Look forward to seeing you in person. Hopefully we can you get that project underway. We can get you up here in Illinois again.
Love to.
And maybe attract some good young people in a constitutional weekend. I know Chris has got a nice little facility out there, and I think it would be great, a great place to come. We're fighting it hard, but every bit of help we get is welcome.
I'll be like your airdrop. I'll come in and
come on in
and come give some reinforcements behind enemy lines.
Yeah, just parachute in here and bring the Constitution and the Bible, and we'll welcome you with open arms.
You got it.
Hey, Dan, maybe we can get one of those returning Abbott buses from Chicago back down there. Maybe it's going back empty. We can all jump on there. The General Assembly is trying to appropriate $75 million this weekend to help with those seeking asylum in the state of Illinois. So if those buses are going back empty, maybe we can load them up and head down there on the 19th of April. Then, what do you think about that idea?
Yeah, just have them swing through Central Illinois on the way back.
Right.
Yeah.
Take some Chicago politicians too.
There you go.
In fact, that does remind me. We're doing our first leadership congress at the Indiana Capitol in this summer. So it's the first time we've been that close to you guys. But that might be fun to get some of your young people, 16 to 25, over to that Indiana one, or any of you guys come down and hang out with us for those 3 days and help coach the students. We'd love to have you.
So, Rick, a lot of our viewers probably know about you, but just in the event they don't, patriotacademy.com. What's the best way for folks to find you that have not connected with you, or maybe just sitting out there kind of, wow, what do we got to do here? How do we find Rick and what he's got going on? That's exciting stuff. How do we do that?
That is the best place, patriotacademy.com. You can sign up for one of the constitutional defense courses, or you can become a coach. And by the way, we give our constitutional coach programs totally free. So we train you as a coach for free. You sign up as a coach for free. Your students take the class for free. It's part of why it's exploding, and so many people are doing it. So that's an easy place to start. If you got a kiddo or a grandkid that's in that 16 to 25 age range, and you want to get them to a state capitol for our leadership Congress. Again, they don't have to be interested in politics. This is for any young person that wants to be a leader and be a good citizen. And most of our graduates don't go into politics. They go into some other area, but they're good citizens from then on, for the most part. Anyway, so that's also at patriotacademy.com. And then we don't have the April 19th thing announced yet. Y'all are the first ones I've told. I actually had that epiphany last weekend. I was in Washington State, marrying a couple of Patriot Academy. That should be that's how I should advertise these leadership congresses. Find the perfect Patriot mate. I think I'm going to get patriotsonly.com maybe. Anyway, I was marrying a couple of these kids that met at Patriot Academy years ago in Washington State. And I was driving over to the wedding, and it hit me. Wait a minute. We've been wanting to do our groundbreaking, and our campus is going to be centered around a mock-up of the Lexington Green. And because I've told that story from April 19th, don't fire unless fired upon, but if they mean to have war, let it begin here. Anyway, forever. And so that's going to be the center of the campus. And I thought, wait a minute, we're talking about doing a groundbreaking in April. Why not on April 19th? That would be perfect. So that's not on the website yet, but everybody mark your calendars. We'll get that out there. But everything's at patriotacademy.com.
Excellent stuff. Guys, Freedom Caucus members, any closing thoughts or comments? We'll go real quick around kind of a lightning round, and then let Rick kind of close us out, and then we'll send it out with our outro video. So just go round robin real quick if anybody's got any closing thoughts. If not, we'll turn it over to Rick and let him finish up, and look forward to seeing you guys all the next time. Gentlemen? Chris?
Well, anyway, I just want to thank everybody for hopping on here today or this evening, and hey, keep fighting the fight. We know the fight for freedom never ends, but the good news is we are not descendants of fearful men, and we're going to continue to fight every day and do the right thing the right way all the time, and be strategic in the way we do these things. And God bless you all. God bless you, Rick, and we'll continue to pray, and we'll continue to fight.
Amen. Adam, any closing thoughts?
Yes, thanks, Rick. Thank you for being with us here this evening. Folks, whether it be standing for the rights of the unborn or standing up for your Second Amendment rights, fighting for limited government, we will keep pushing against the woke wish list that the Illinois Democrats keep trying to enact here in the state of Illinois. And everybody have a wonderful evening and keep up the fight.
Yeah. And Blaine.
Hey guys, thanks for being here. Rick, especially thanks to you. Great stuff. Folks out there, continue to stay vigilant, stay on guard, keep the accountability for us and everybody else up. And, in the end, we win. So let's get this done.
Yeah. Dan, closing thoughts.
We're all good. Thanks again, Rick. Everybody, thanks for being here on this great Tuesday night. Tomorrow's a momentous day for us. We're going to swear in some new patriots tomorrow in the Sangamon Auditorium. Our numbers are going to grow. The Freedom Caucus is going to grow. Our message will be continued to spread far and wide here in Illinois. And Rick, we really appreciate you being here, and look forward to seeing you soon. And we'll figure a way to get you up here. We'll entice you up here with something, but hopefully we'll see you soon. And thanks everybody for joining in.
Yeah. Rick, thanks for taking so much of your time today to be with us. Again, patriotacademy.com. I'd like to talk about your thoughts on elections and how the state of that in the nation, but that's probably a conversation for another day and another time, along many others. You do have a vast range of knowledge on many subjects and see things. I know the Patriot Academy thing is really, really growing. Rick, I'll give you a few minutes here, whatever you want to close us out with. And again, thank you for taking time.
Man, my pleasure, Brad. Thanks for the invite, guys. I'm honored to be with you, and I'm honored to stand with you and lock shields with you. And I remind people all the time, they're always telling me, hey, if Texas secedes, we're moving to Texas and yada, yada, yada. And I'm always like, hey, listen, man, there's people that died for me at Iwo Jima and Saipan and all those places, from Chicago and from, Battleground, Washington, and Los Angeles, California, and all over this country. We're in this thing together. And so we're fighting in a Churchill style, in the air, on the beach, everywhere across this country. And I think that's what's necessary. And so the fact that you guys are doing that in Illinois, God bless you. I think I think Chris said it, right. I mean, in the way, we often say it, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. You never stop as long as you're above ground and even against the things that we're fighting now. So I would close by saying this to everybody out there. I'll just repeat what Rick Santorum said at a dinner I was at recently, and I was actually hacked off at him when he said it. He looked out at us and he said, whatever you're doing, it's not enough. We're losing. And I got mad. I was like, man, I did 700 media appearances, 100 live events. I'm making about a fifth of what I would make in the regular market. I'm giving my family everything we've got and I got upset, and I was like, what do you mean it's not enough? We're doing everything we can. And that night I kind of woke up really thinking about this. I was like, you know what? He's right. Because he also said to us, he said, nobody in this room is sacrificing. You're not truly sacrificing. Whatever you're doing, it's nothing compared to what they did in World War II. It's nothing compared to what the Patriots that signed the Declaration of Independence sacrificed. And so the more I thought about what he said, I realized, you know what? He's right. I'm not giving near as much money as I could give to candidates and to causes and to the church and to all the other institutions that need it right now. I'm not sacrificing my time as much as I could. Anyway, the more I thought about it, I realized he's right. And so I want to say that to everybody out there that's watching this tonight. Whatever you're doing, it's not enough. So start giving more, because we're at the precipice where we're going to fall into liberty or tyranny one way or the other for a generation. And what you do can push us back to liberty. So give more of your money to candidates, to causes, to your church. Give more of your time. Start hosting Constitution classes in your home or at your church or wherever it might be. Show up for these guys at committees. Go testify. Make the phone calls, the letters, all those things that you may think, I don't know if this is making a difference. It's every little piece is a part of that wind we were talking about earlier, that pressure that helps make it happen. So give more of your time, more of your money, and yes, your sacred honor. Stand up and be willing to speak truth. Lastly, the most important thing you can do to save the country is be in God's word. The founders talked about it over and over and over again. Without that biblical, remember I said garbage in, garbage out, good stuff in, good stuff out. How do you get the good stuff in? You got to be in the good stuff. And we don't know the Bible like we used to. 9% of Christians read the Bible on a regular basis. 9%. That means 91% are not. I got convicted about this a couple of years ago, and so now I read through the Bible every year. And on social media, I take people through the Founders Bible. This is the best one on the planet right there. It's such a good read because it's got all kinds of stories about Washington and Adams and how they applied it. So just read through the Bible this year, and I promise you it'll bless you, and it'll allow you to influence the culture in a better way. It's the most important thing we can do to save the country. And it doesn't take that much time, 15 minutes a day, and you can get through the whole Bible in a year, including the Founders Bible. I'm also doing Dennis Prager's Rational Bible, which is really cool, by the way. If you hadn't done that, do it. I mean, all these verses that I used to think, that's really weird, God. Why were you having them do that? And Prager just explains it in a way I've never heard before. So good stuff. So anyway, that's my last piece of advice. Let's stay in the fight, guys. And April 19th, everybody's invited. Come on down. But I'd love to come up there, Dan. So thanks for the thought, and we'll figure something out. You guys just let me know. God bless you.
Great, Rick. Thanks for being generous with your time, and everybody, Freedom Caucus members. With that, we're going to sign off and have a good evening, and we'll talk to you real soon.